Hey everyone, welcome back to Painted. I am going to be doing a live here with you, but I'm trying to get my iPad hooked up down here so I can read your questions when I'm doing work and I can't look up here. Hi Rima, nice to see you. You're always right, the first person signed in. Hi Mary. So give me just a second while I try to get on my page and find my own live video and see if that works. It would be a good thing if it did, because then I could actually try to read your questions instead of breaking my neck like this. So give me just a second. And here we are. I am live. Now I'm going to turn the volume down so I can't hear myself talk and hear the weird echo. Hi Lori, hi everybody, nice to see you. Gosh, I'm so excited. Okay, so it's been a little bit since I've done some product demos. I've been working on furniture. You saw me doing some Veriglaze demo, and you saw me working with enamels, but we're back into products now. As you all know, I'm very big on furniture. It's one of my biggest passions. And so we're going to talk about products and the order to use glaze, wax, and top coats, because a lot of people get really easily confused about this, and I understand why. It's a little bit of chemistry. But before we get into products, I want to cover a couple things. I have classes coming up. I am doing my 30-day 5-finish plus business dinner, 30-day, boy did I get that one backwards, 5-day 30 finish plus business dinner at the Faux Finish School in Louisville, Kentucky. The dates are in September, and of course I didn't write those down. I'm a bad person. I'll post them here on the side. I want to say it's the 22nd through 28th. And then we're going to do our New World finishing class. It is a furniture and cabinetry finishing class. That's a 3-day class at the Faux Finish School in Louisville, Kentucky. And that one, I believe, is October 7th through 10th. Of course, again, I'm going to check the dates and I will post them in here, make sure that everybody gets to see them. And then my final class to share, for those of you who are IDOL members or those of you who are looking to get into the industry and want a professional organization to join, you want to look at IDOL, International Decorative Artisans League. Their convention is in Greensboro, Kentucky this year. And I'm going to be teaching Fabulous Furniture Finishes, a 1-day class on October 21st, I think it is. Boy, I'm bad. I really should have, I write myself a little note about what I need to cover with everybody. I should have put the dates on. Yeah, can't quite get there with that. But if Martin pops in, it's going to, I'll ask him to share the dates for the Timeless Creations and for New World Finishing. That'll be, those are both great sellers, and as a matter of fact, this week I'm heading down after I drop my son off for his senior year, his last semester, senior year of college. Oh my God, I'm gonna have a college grad. How did I get that out? How did he grow up? But I'll be in Louisville doing finishes because I like to keep that class updated and fresh so that you're not seeing the same old for years on end. I'll be down there reworking some new finishes for the Timeless Creations, and if you're lucky and Martin's not looking, I'll do a live from there because Martin doesn't want to be on screen, and I respect that, but me, I'm good at being here. So let's get into today's contest. Yes, I never said a word about contest before, but we have a contest today. If you share my video 20 times, I'm going to come up with a little treat. For those of you who've never used it, Set Coat. Yes, these are brand new, but they were taped together and the tape was right over the label, so it kind of tore the letters off. We have Set Coat True Silver and Set Coat True Gold. So, no, Greensboro is not in Kentucky. Greensboro is in North Carolina. That's where the IDOL convention is going to be. Louisville, Kentucky is where I'm teaching my 2 major classes of Timeless Creations and New World Finishing. Back to the contest. If we share this video 20 times, I'm sending out, I'll be doing a little draw I'll keep up everybody's name, and in the next 24 hours, if this video gets shared 20 times, I'll be sending out the lucky winner 2 little sample tubes of set coat. Now, if we make it up to 40, I'm gonna up it. And if we make it up to 40, at 20, I'll do the draw for these. At 40, I'm going to give away a quart of Metal Glow in this gorgeous Santa Maria blue, which is very turquoisey. I love this color. It's got a little hint of green to it, so it's really beautiful. Hey, Michael, nice to see you. And now we're going to get into our products. So see, again, keep my notes here so I can see what I'm doing. Now, I have myself right in front of me. There's a little delay when it comes to me on the iPad because I'm watching myself here live and then I watch myself down here and it looks very peculiar to me. So if I stutter a little bit, it's one of the first times I've done this, and the last time I couldn't read it because I put it too far away. Now it's right in front of me. So our first product that we're going to cover is Glaze. Now when you're furniture finishing, I see a lot of newbies are like, well, I glazed over the wax and then I top coated over the wax, or I waxed over the top coat and I glazed over the top coat. You're killing yourself making it harder. The simple order, if you're going to use all 3 of these things, is glaze, top coat, wax. The simplest, easy way. Oh, hey everybody. Oh, I get y'all excited when we start sharing. Wax, let's get back to work here. Wax, simple. Wax is your final coat. I'll get into the science of it, why, a little later, but just listen to me now as I say wax. No matter what you're doing, wax is the last thing. Nothing goes over wax. Wax is the last thing you use. All right, so first thing we're gonna do, and I have lots of samples that we're gonna play with. We're gonna tint stuff. I'm gonna explain why you would use each and everything, and we'll go do samples as I do it. So let me put this down on my empty at the moment table. All right, I've got a sample here. This is painted with Faux Effects Old World Finishing Paint. It's our chalk style mineral paint. This color is called Mustard. Yes, I keep trying to hope I could figure out how to flip the screen, but I haven't done it yet without having strange things happen. So you're gonna have to live with it being backwards. This is a mineral type paint, and it has to have something on it. You can't leave it alone because it's very fragile and very porous in this state. So, first thing we're gonna do is do glazes. Glazes are simply one way of adding color to a surface, and it can be solid or well, it doesn't really work solid. I shouldn't say that way, but it can be sort of streaky. It can be mottled. You can get it relatively smooth. So I'm using Faux Effects Faux Cream, but all the information I'm giving you works with all glazes, works with all top coats, and works with all waxes. Now I need to shake that up a little bit. When you shake up Faux Effects products, I don't take it and I kind of swirl it a little bit because Faux Effects products, the resins in it don't really like to be shaken up too much. They prefer to be stirred. But since this is this quart bottle, it's this shape, it doesn't want to be stirred because I can't get anything down the lid. So I have a little bit of glaze here, and I can tint this with several things because it's water-based. I can use Faux Effects tints. Specifically, this one is Faux Cream color. In the Asphaltum Transoxide line, which the all asphalt transoxide faux cream colors are exterior rated. Give it a little shake, and I pour it in here, mixes in. I can also use stuff like mica powders, dry powder pigments. These happen to be from a company called Earth Colors of Provence. I'm not even sure if they're around. Their website is ecoprovence.com. I've had these for a long time. It tells you that dry pigments can last forever. I can put other companies' pigments in there. This is stuff from Guerrera Paint that I got in New York. It's liquid pigment in a water-based suspension. I can use Mixol. I can mix pretty much any water-based compatible product into this glaze. For the sake of simplicity right now, I'll make one little bit of glaze using Asphaltum Transoxide Faux Cream Color. I'm gonna put a bunch of it in because I'm gonna make a dark glaze. Don't ever add water to your glazes. The reason is, if you need more open time, water's not gonna do it. Water is going to actually make it dry faster because you've thinned down all the materials in here that keep it open. If you need your glaze to stay open, and of course this is for water-based glazes, if you need your water-based glaze to stay open longer, add an extender to it like Faux Effects So Slow, or I don't know, other companies make their slowing products. I don't know what they are because I'm really heavily into Faux Effects. So here I'm going to take the glaze on my chip brush and I'm going to just put it on really heavily here. And what this glaze does is it penetrates the paint. It'll alter the color of it a little bit, and actually it'll in this case it'll alter the color quite a bit because this is so porous. And then I'm going to wipe it back, and it's going to have a fairly old world look to it. And get my cheesecloth here. And you can see I've taken that from yellow to sort of an ochre-y, not even an ochre color, but almost a light wood color. Acrylic base, but water soluble. Everything has to be water soluble for this because not all of these pigments work if you put them in solvent based. Some of them do, some of them don't, and quite frankly, that's something you're going to have to figure out. I can't go through it product by product. If I want to get these streaks that I've put in here out, I can take my Badger brush, just using the tips, and soften it. Makes all these brushy, streaky marks a lot softer. It doesn't blend out as easily on the Old World finishing paint because it's already penetrating here. So I'm going to finish wiping this back a little bit. And with these chalk mineral style paints that are extremely porous, you're going to have some streakiness happening, but it's really part of the effect. It's really beautiful. I just want to get that shiny spot off because it makes it hard to see it. But you get that kind of old age distressed paint look, and of course this could be more so. If I was to do it, say, on a piece with set coat on it, set coat is our 100% acrylic paint product that we use to glaze with walls and everything else, that dries to an oil level sheen on here so you don't have a lot of grab happening. I'll show you what happens with what we do here, because with the Old World finishing paint, it's sucked way in. On this, it's just going to kind of sit on top, and you're going to be able to wipe it back to next to nothing on here, and it will badger out much more smoothly. So I'm going to take that, see, you can see it's wiping back a lot more. I can take almost all of this off and have no issues, except for the fact that my cheesecloth is catching on the ends of the piece that I forgot to sand when I did this, so I'm making my own life harder. And then I can take my Badger brush and go in here and soften all of these streaks up, make it way more subtle. And I can, of course, once this dried, go back in here and make sure that I leave some in the crevice. I can wipe it back more. I'm getting a little more absorption right now because quite frankly I primed these with the paints like 3 hours ago, so that'll make your glaze suck in faster. Any paint, when you're doing glaze over it, you want to let your paint cure like overnight. It works much better, but I'm forcing it here. But you can see here fewer streaks. The glaze just sort of floated across the surface. The streaks you're seeing are actually the brush marks that I put in when I put this paint on. All right, so you can use glaze on dark colors, and we're going to make a glaze that would stand out on dark colors. This again has Faux Effects Set Coat in black on it. Beautiful black. By the way, I just did this in one coat, and look at the coverage. Look at the opacity of that. That's really, really nice. Don't forget to share, and when you share, make sure you write in here that you shared so I know who shared and I can enter you in the drawing for the prizes. And okay, here we go. We'll go add, we're going to take a little more glaze here. Mix it in. And instead of using my faux cream color like I normally do, I'm going to take, what am I going to put in here? I can put mica powders in glaze. So let me put a little Aztec gold in here. I'm going to make this a pretty pigment dense glaze because it'll make it easier for you to see it. Normally I don't make my glazes, my metallic glazes as strong as I'm about to make this. But the powder will melt in. Oh, I didn't put that much glaze in there. Maybe I should put a little more. It's hard to see what I'm doing sometimes as I'm watching cameras and watching feeds and trying to make sure I answer questions, trying to make sure I don't dump this on my head. So this is probably going to be a little lumpy because I'm putting a lot of powder into very little glaze. But you can see I made a very, very rich gold glaze. Let's take my chip brush out and grab a rag because I don't really need to mix them all up too much. And then powdered mica in here, and you can see how gold that is going on. I mean, that's pretty gold, quite frankly. That's a little too Liberace for my regular tastes, but it's great for demoing. So you can see how gold that glaze is on there. And then you wipe it back as much or as little as you want. All right. I'm taking it a lot back, but I'm still going to leave some in the crevices here, and I'm not going to leave it perfectly even because I like the way that looks. And look at how that changes that black into a beautiful, rich gold hue over that. It gives this Aztec gold is a little on the orangey side, so I don't know, maybe I'm feeling fall and feeling a little pumpkiny because it's definitely a little on the orange metallic there now. So you're seeing what happens with glaze. Glaze is used to take things like these old world finishing. This, by the way, this color is sky blue. This old world color finishing paint, the colors need to be sealed in, so you can do that with glaze. You can also simply take this color and apply top coat. Here we go. I'll move some things out of the way because I incrementally push things in to myself narrower and narrower and narrower. So we're going to use, just for today's demo, we're going to use AquaGuard gloss. The reason I'm using gloss is because I'm going to be demonstrating part of this on black, and I'll show you what the sheen dries to. Here, I did a sample on here before. shines to a nice gloss black. There's the set coat before, so now you see it with the gloss black. If you're going to top coat blacks, you want to start, let me angle this up. If you're going to top coat blacks, you want to start with gloss and then step it down. What I mean by stepping it down is you want to start at gloss and then you can go to satin. If you want it dull, then you put the dull coating over the satin. The reason is the matting agents in top coats is talc. And if you put it straight on the black, the talc will grab funny and look cloudy. If you do it in these steps, the talc spreads evenly and it just looks dull. And of course you can mix and match top coats in the same brand. I'll say that in the same brand to get the level of sheen you want. I don't mix, I don't take Faux Effects top coat and mix it with Minwax. I don't know what's going to happen there. I don't trust that to be a stable bond that way. So if I'm going to change the sheen in my top coat, I'm going to use the same brands. So let's get back down here. You can see this is my AquaGuard gloss, and like all water-based top coats, it's whitish. That's because the acrylic in here is wet, and the way it works is that it dries clear. All that white clears out. Now, let me grab a brush over here. Take this is Old World finishing paint on here again. And I can take some top coat on it, and all I'm gonna do is brush it on. And immediately it deepens the color because it's penetrating through the minerals. You can see the difference in the color. It's not going to lighten back to what it was before. It's going to stay this much darker. It's designed to soak in and bind the Old World finishing paint through into the bottom. It's porous. The top coat grabs into the Old World finishing paint and helps bind to the bottom layers. You have to have something like that working on any of our Old World finishing paint products. They have to have some kind of either glaze or wax or top coat on it to get it to bond permanently. I'm setting that aside. We're gonna go to, let's see, I'll grab this one. Can I add pigment to my top coat like I do to the glaze? Well, certainly, as long as they are compatible. So I'm gonna take a little bit of top coat here, a little bit of AquaGuard gloss, and set it to the side so I don't knock it over like I'm apt to. And I think this time I'm going to take, I have Luminart Metallic Mica. No, that's not what I thought that was. That's not what I was looking for. Hang on a second, folks. Okay. That was mica powder. We already worked with mica. So this is Luminart's Ocean Wave Blue Metallic Pigment. Now these pigments are only designed to work in acrylic products. So I'm just gonna, a little bit of this is gonna go a long way. So I'm gonna put a little in here. Personally, I rarely tint my top coats. The reason is you don't have any time to manipulate it. You're basically brushing it on and leaving it alone. Whereas with glaze, if I want a color that I need to manipulate, I'm going to put it in glaze because then I have time to work with it. The open time is much longer. If I overbrush a top coat, I'm going to cause gumming and streaking and funny ways that it dries. A lot of people tend to overwork their top coats and then they get frustrated that they have weird patches in them. And that's why. If you keep brushing back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, eventually that area is going to dry and you're going to start having your brush drag through it. So what I'm doing is I'm putting a little bit of tinted top coat on. And here's the thing. If I get it heavier in one spot and lighter in the other and it starts to dry, I really don't have any way to go back. I can't play with this with cheesecloth. I can't manipulate it. However, it does create a very specific look. It'll have some streaks, or you can spray it on, but if you don't spray it perfectly evenly, your tint's going to be thicker in some spots than others. So I'm going to show you how it works. So you can see some of my tint is heavier up in here than it is anywhere else because that's where it grabbed. All right, put that one aside. Now, we're going to get to the fun part. Wax. All right. Wax comes in, I use different waxes. Wax comes in, come in tints. I don't buy tinted waxes because I think they're a waste of money. They only have one color. I will buy a plain wax that I can tint any color I want myself with powder pigments or mica powders. I don't put liquid pigments in here. Why? Because most of these liquid pigments have water in them or acrylic, which aren't compatible with real wax. There we go. That's the old world Venetian wax from Faux Effects. I also, depending on what I need, I use polish wax, black Liberon wax. The difference is that Liberon wax is hard. Well, not super hard, but it's harder. It's more like shoe polish. So I could take my rag and dip into it and rub it across the surface. Whereas Faux Effects tends to be a little creamier, and it's easier for me to mix pigment in it. You can see I just touched my finger in it and I made a dent. So I usually scoop some out and mix some pigment. So that's a big difference. And as you notice, I keep a rag here in my Liberon, and then I cover it up with an airtight seal. The reason I have to use the press and seal on this is somehow along the lines I opened the can funny and ripped the can apart. But if you're not going to keep your rags with these solvent-based waxes, you need to open them up wide, open up the rag wide, lay it out, and let all of the solvent evaporate out of them because wax is combustible. Now what we're talking about is true waxes today. Beeswax, carnauba wax, any real wax, not acrylic faux waxes. And waxes are, as I said earlier, let me turn this up so you can see my face. Waxes are absolutely the last layer. The reason is wax is a resist layer, meaning that anything you put on it, it's designed to resist. That's why people used to wax furniture so that if something spilled on it like water, it would just sheet off. Well, wax has its uses, wax has its time to be used, wax has time not to be used. Wax is best when you don't really ever intend to repaint something. The fact of the matter is wax penetrates, especially when we're using stuff like old world finishing paint, because it penetrates it and locks down. So if you're going to use wax, whatever you're using the wax on has to be stripped. There's no taking a little mineral spirits or a little denatured alcohol and scrubbing it down and getting the wax off. All you're doing is reliquefying the wax and pushing it further in. So anything that you wax has to be stripped. That means a lot more work. I don't mind doing that. I'm aware of when I use it. I use it very deliberately. But don't ever think you can just wipe it down with a little cleaner and then paint right over it, because for the next 10 years, anytime somebody brushes it or you can run a fingernail off it, you're just going to have paint and everything else scrape right off. It's designed to resist. So it is always the last layer, always. Now you saw that I put the AquaGuard gloss on here, but there are times that I like to put a little wax on something because it has a beautiful sheen and a hand feel to it that's not the same as any top coat. So I'll take a little of my Liberon because I'm going to tint the others, and I have the rag and the Liberon already. And let's angle the camera back down. And I'm just rubbing it in here. And as you can see, it too penetrates into the wood or into the paint. It does it to wood, it does it to anything that you put wax on. Wax, especially these waxes like this that have some solvent in them, will penetrate into stuff. And I guarantee you, I know what I'm talking about not painting over stuff. I did Venetian plaster walls in my sister's house as a gift when I was first learning to do Venetian plaster. And they decided they didn't like it. And I said, well, we have to, you know, strip everything off the walls. And my sister said, oh, I'm not doing that. She went out, she wiped the walls once with Citrusolve and painted them olive green. Now the paint went on and it stuck to the wall. 10 years later though, I was still able to go by the wall and scrape it all off with my fingernail. Very seriously, no exaggeration. So you can see the wax isn't as shiny. And when wax sets, it has to sit, it has to dry for a little bit, and then you come back with a little bit of a terry towel. I don't happen to have that in my hand right now. And you can buff it to a lovely sheen. I don't think this is dry enough to get the sheen yet. But it has a hand feel that is not the same as anything else. Now, you can also do where you tint a wax. Place that. Oh, I knew I had it. I have all these samples sitting around and I can't remember where I put them sometimes. I can take some wax in a container. You've seen what it does plain. I can take some wax in a container, and this is the Old World Venetian wax from Faux Effects, which I really like. It tends to be very soft and creamy and easy to blend colors into. I am not going to use faux colors or faux cream colors because those are water soluble. They're not good. And they have acrylics in it. This will just not even, it'll be like mixing oil and water. It'll just never blend. So I'm going to use a little bit of this plum colored powdered pigment that I have, and I'll just put a bit in there. I have no idea how much it is enough because I don't use this particular brand that much since I have so many other options. But you can see I'm making a wax paste in there with pigment in it. Mix it up well. I can take cheesecloth, I can take a chip brush. I know some people prefer to wax with a brush. I'm personally a hand waxer. I don't, although I'll grab a brush and we can test that theory. Let's see. And a little chip brush here. So I can take some on like this and I can brush it on. And the pigments don't necessarily go through, but the wax goes through and locks the Old World finishing paint down into the base coat. Or I can take a little cheesecloth like this and wax like this. And the reason I tend to do this way is because then, as you can see, this side I've applied a lot more wax, therefore I have to wipe it off. With this side, I'm doing it with the rag, and I'm getting on just as much as the wood and the paint actually really want to take, and it won't dry streaky on me. So on this side, I gotta go back and wipe all that back off. The only time I would really use a brush is maybe to get into the crevices, like right in here. That's hard to get into with your fingers. So I have changed this mustard yellow into almost a sunset color. I thought the plum would actually gray it out, but it actually made it richer. And when this dries, I'll buff it, and you'll get this beautiful soft sheen. Now, this is the question that always gets asked. Can I wax over a top coat? Well, of course you can. If you don't want your wax to sit and penetrate, or you are working on a piece that needs far more protection than wax will give, the vanity that you all saw I did for myself, I put Varnish Plus as a top coat on it, and then I waxed over it because I wanted that beautiful hand feel of the wax. But I knew if I was doing cosmetics and I would have solvents on it, I needed something under there that was tougher than wax. So I'm going to take a little more wax, grab a cup, and a little metallic pigment here. Where's my wax? There we go. Got to dig into everything. Hi Jeff, nice to see you. It's kind of working well because my iPad's right here. I can actually see when people say things. And don't hesitate to ask questions. And once again, share the video and then post the word share so I know you've done it. We get up to 20 shares. I'm sending out little samples of Set Coat True Silver and Set Coat True Gold. And if we get to 40 shares, I'm sending out a second prize of Metal Glow in Santa Maria Blue, which is just gorgeous, and I'm taking the wrong things away. Let me do this. Reach into my little bag of stuff here. I'm going to put a little, again, I'm going to use the Aztec Gold mica powder. Mix it in there. You can mix pigments, you can mix micas, anything that is friendly to be soluble in wax. And sometimes you don't know whether it's friendly or not until you mix it and find out the hard way. Ask me how I know. I've done some stuff. I've wasted whole cans of wax doing things the hard way. Alrighty there. Okay. So I've mixed up a little of this gold wax. I'm going to grab a little more cheesecloth. And I'm going to show you what wax does. You've seen how wax penetrates mineral, old world, chalk style paints. This is going to be on Set Coat regularly here, and how it grabs there, and then how it grabs on top of AquaGuard gloss. So you can see how it grabs on a top coat. So I'm just going to take, you know, a little bit on here. You can see I'm making very small amounts, and I won't even go through that whole thing. So I'm waxing on this, just on the plain Set Coat, and it's grabbing up nicely just a little bit so that it gives a whole subtle sheen to the Set Coat. And I haven't gone on the AquaGuard yet. There you go. Now I'm going on the AquaGuard gloss, and it's going to take the wax differently. It's slipperier on here. It just slides right across. It doesn't grab as much, and the shine is still higher. It's not as high as the full gloss was, but the shine is still pretty high. You see it's still shiny, but it's much more subtle than it is here. I love doing this. This is a great way to get your wax feel and the protection of a top coat. Do not, okay, let me put this back this way. Do not try to top coat over wax. It's not going to work. It just isn't. Your top coat's going to beat up and slide off, or if you get any of it to stick at all, it's going to pill up the next day and you're going to be able to roll it off with your fingers. It's going to be ugly, ugly, ugly. Hi, Diane. Hi, Jennifer. Thank you for sharing, everybody. Let me see if I've got one of these dry enough yet to buff. I need a terry towel. Terry towels buff better than anything. This is a little bit of a rough one. It's been around for a while. So I'm going to take it and do a little effort to buff it. Oh yeah, that shine's coming up nicely on the wax. Okay. You have to wait for wax to dry. You need to let the solvents evaporate out that also help keep it liquid. And then it'll harden up and you can get a beautiful soft sheen out of it. Wax feels like nothing else. That's the reason people go back to wax. Wax has the most amazing feel to it, but it's not durable enough to just put on kitchen cabinets. So the first time somebody tries to go and clean the kitchen cabinets, you're gonna have your wax finish just destroyed. So understand the order this goes in: glaze, top coat, wax. Don't try to glaze over wax, it'll bead up. Don't try to top coat over wax, it'll peel off. You can use wax over your top coat if you want that look, but you don't have to. You can put wax over your glaze once the glaze is dry, and that's perfectly fine. And that'll seal up that glazed surface. Again, not as tough a seal as a top coat, but still a very nice, beautiful feeling. I've done all of this for years, and I've got to tell you, even though I know this stuff, every once in a while I do it backwards, and I learned the hard way that I did something dumb. Fortunately, it's not on client work. Usually I screw it up in my studio because I'm not paying attention. Hey Camilla, nice to see you. Share this and maybe you'll win some product. I want everybody's work to be successful. That's why I'm taking the time out to explain this. Every time I go on other furniture groups, everybody's like, can I glaze over wax? Or can I just put top coat over my wax? I don't quite like the way it looks. No. If you put the wax down, the wax is your last. I'm going to sound like an idiot repeating, but wax is the last coat, period. And if you've got a piece of furniture that has been waxed, before you redo it, you have to remove the wax. Lori Jackson, can you glaze over? Yes, there's no reason to glaze over top coat. Top coat, if you wanted to glaze, if you wanted a darker glaze that you didn't want to penetrate so deeply, do a coat of clear glaze and then do a coat of dark glaze and then top coat it. Because your glaze is not strong enough as a top coat on its own. Glaze is fairly fragile in the world of acrylic products. Glaze needs a top coat to protect it. Jeff, no, we're not talking about aqua wax. I will briefly mention it because I don't want to confuse a lot of people. Aqua wax, when you hear about Faux Effects Aqua Wax, it is an acrylic wax product, meaning it's not a real wax. It's an acrylic formulation that can go on and semi-mimic a wax finish, because when it dries, you can buff it and get it shinier. That's never how I use it, quite frankly. If I want a wax finish, I'm going to use wax. If I want an acrylic finish, I'll use other things. Be smart with your furniture. Be smart with your walls. Always, if you're struggling to understand what I mean, go get some pieces of wood at Home Depot like I do and practice this. See what happens if you put glaze over wax. See what happens if you put glaze over a top coat. See what happens if you top coat over wax. See what happens if you glaze over wax. You need to understand this. It's really chemistry, and I know some people as creatives don't want to understand that, but it will help you to understand why it fails. Wax, by nature, by the very nature of the being, is a resist product. Glaze, by the nature of what it is, it's not a top coat. It is a tinting medium with a long open time that allows you to put sheer layers of color over a surface. Top coat, by the nature of what it is, you put it on top of stuff. It's the layer that is the protective, hard layer for heavily used surfaces. I hope I made that clear. And if, of course, I've not clarified anything with you, or you have further questions about this, do not hesitate to either post a message here, Send me a PM if you feel like you're not comfortable asking with public acknowledgement of what's going on. I have a lot of people who think it's a dumb question. I guarantee you, the only dumb question is the question you don't ask, because it means I haven't done my job to make it clear. And if you're questioning it, it's somebody else is questioning it. You're just the first person to put it out there. So don't hesitate in any way, shape, or form. I'm not sure if I've frozen. It looks like I might have frozen. Oh no, we're good. It's popping up. It may be my signal down here. I think that covers everything. Once again, I will post my class information in a post here for Timeless Creations, a 30 finish 5-day professional level finishing class with a business dinner, the 3-day 25-26 finish New World finishing class. Both of these classes are being held at the Faux Finish School in Louisville, Kentucky. I will post the dates with them. Third class to share is I'm doing Fabulous Furniture Finishes, a 1-day furniture class where you can pick my brain as well as learn finishes at IDOL in Greensboro, North Carolina at the end of October. If you're not sure what IDOL is, I will also share the link to IDOL in this. So you're going to get a whole bunch of links posted into this page. I don't know where they post or where they stay, or maybe I'll share them up in the original post. I'll figure it out. But you'll have a lot of information here. Rima asks, why would I use wax after a top coat? The only reason to use wax after a top coat is to get that feel of wax. I love the feel of a waxed piece of furniture. So like the vanity you all have seen me working on, I put 2 coats of varnish plus gloss over that wood, lightly sanded it, and then I used Old World Venetian wax on it, let it dry, and buffed it. And it just had that beautiful feel of wax, like an old vintage piece of furniture. It's the feel I wanted. It's absolutely the feel I wanted. And also then, if I spill something, and you all saw I was doing the Veriglamise piece that's sitting on top of that vanity. If I spill something and it damages the wax finish, it hasn't completely damaged the finish of the wood. The wood is protected by the Varnish Plus. All I have to do is clean up the wax a little, re-wax it, and I'm good to go. So I think that covers everything. Wax is an interesting product. I love it. Some people don't. Some people will never go near it. You have to just understand where, why, and how you use each of these products. So I hope that's clear for everybody. I thank you all. Keep sharing this. I'm going to share any shares in the next 24 hours from today. Today being Wednesday, August 15th. Wednesday, August 15th. As of 5:30 Thursday, I will end the contest. And if we're up at 20, keep sharing, because when we get to 20, somebody gets a prize. And you have to post in here, in the thread that's following this video, that you've shared it. Because if you shared it and don't post, how do I know you did it? How do I know to enter you in the contest? Oh, thank you, everybody. Thanks for the kind words. Thanks for saying I look fabulous. I had a good makeup day. Come on back. Keep an eye out for me in Louisville next week. I'll give you a little peek around Martin's studio if I haven't made too much of a disaster out of it doing samples. And have a great week. Talk to you later. Bye.